Hello, hello. Welcome to the Openly Occultic podcast. Yes. How's everybody doing this evening? Hope everything is well. Um, just wanted to touch bases. We finally reached 50 subscribers. Yay. So I promised our viewers, our subscribers, that as soon as we hit 50 subscribers, we'll go ahead and go live. And we'll, continue to build this community, basically, this openly occultic community. Um, for those of you who've been here for a while, I made a video a few months ago on why we're calling it the Openly Occultic Podcast. Why openly occultic? So and if you haven't caught that, you can go back in the videos and go ahead and pull that video up, because this video was about my journey from Christianity, to occultic alchemy, energy work type of lifestyle, if you will. And so, and the story was around my mom's experience, her health experiences. My mom's situation was the catalyst, if you will, outside of me being a life number 7. Her situation was the catalyst. So I spoke about that. It was it was about an hour and a half long video, pretty in depth. But there's, of course, if anybody had any questions or wanted any more details, I'd be happy to oblige for that. But as it is, and that's important, I wanted to bring that up for a very specific reason, because when we're talking about parasites, right? And we're not really going to reinvent the wheel in so many ways, because a lot of us have heard about parasites, physical parasites. I want to talk about metaphysical parasites as well, right? And then even go a step further and discuss digital parasites, because that's where we're at in 2026, right, everybody? We're in the world of AI and exciting technological changes. And as with all things, there's polarity, there's duality. So there's a this and that, if you will, a positive and negative aspect to all things. So because of that, I said, hey, let's go ahead and discuss these digital parasites. When we get to that part of the show, we'll bring in what I was saying about my mother and her health, and we'll bring these things together. We'll sync it up, because I think it's very important, and I'll explain why when we get to that. So, as it is, what we're doing today is we're discussing parasites, right? We're discussing parasites. Let me pull up my thumbnail for the show. Right. Discussing parasites. You're the host. This is the Openly Occultic Podcast, and I am your host, Phoenicia. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure you want to hear about these parasites, right? Definitely want to be, and we will. You will. But first, on this plant energy work and emerging intelligence in health. Like, share, and subscribe to stay informed and empowered. All right. So let me get myself situated. This is our very first live podcast. Been streaming on YouTube for over a decade, but have not. Around this time, I think I'm really getting activated. Like I said, this whole digital parasite concept has just been all around me. It's just been all around. I can't get away from it. So I said, hey, we're going to talk about this. I would love to talk about this with my audience. So we want to get into that. And for humanity, right? For humanity. Now, have you ever felt a thought that wasn't your own? You know, like a sudden impulse or a strange fear or desire you couldn't explain? What if I told you that your mind, your body, hey, maybe even your soul might not be entirely yours? Sounds crazy, right? Sounds crazy. Well, your soul or, lack thereof. Maybe there's a reason for that. You know what I mean? Um, that there's forces, you know, hidden forces, ancient forces, even insidious forces that have been influencing humanity since the dawn of time, right? A very, very long time. These forces, we call them parasites. I'm talking about the hidden puppeteers of humanity, right? From the physical to the metaphysical and even beyond. We're going to talk about that tonight. I think it's very important. I think this is an important topic. We all been talking about parasites for quite a while, right? We've been talking about parasites and what it can do to the body. We're going to get all into that. Because, like we said, you have moments. I mean, just kind of think about it. Let me know if this sounds legit to you. Having a thought, you know, that's not your own. You're like, why am I thinking like that? Where did that thought come from? You know, doing things that you don't normally do, even your body moving in what ways your body doesn't normally move, you know, or a weird fear, a strange fear, or, some kind of desire, a pulling that it came out of nowhere. You can't explain it. It's not normally you. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. We've been hearing about how parasites can hijack the body, right? We've been talking about these parasites, how they can cause strange symptoms. I think by the end of this live, you'll start recognizing these parasites, not just on the physical level, but the metaphysical as well, you know? Because the truth is really simple. Parasites survive by being unseen, remaining unseen. So by talking about it, particularly tonight, the secrets are going to be coming to light, right? And we're in the age of Aquarius. So we already know what time it is. It's time to shed light in the dark places. It's time for the truth to come to the light. And so by the end of this, and we're talking about physical, metaphysical, and digital parasites, by the end, we're going to see what is really feeding on us. We're going to be able to see it, right? So again, I thank you for being here with me. Uh, for one of our first episodes of the podcast. So, uh, and so I have a question. Go ahead and leave it in the chat. Let me know. Let me know if you felt that. Let me know if you've heard about parasites. Let's start there. Because, I talk to a lot of people and I'm hearing, on one hand, I'm hearing that there's a high percentage of people with parasites. But then on the other hand, I'm hearing of doctors, emergency room technicians, nurses, people in the medical field not the holistic, right, but the Western medical field. I'm hearing that they're saying that that's rare. They've never seen anything. They've never seen these cases. Like most of the time, that's their narrative. What do you guys think about that? You know what? Let me give my disclaimer right now. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical practitioner, right? So these are my opinions, though, my life experience, fair use. This is my story. This is my testimony. So we'll start there. And before we start talking about detoxing parasites, because right now we're just getting the information on these three various types of parasites, let alone we're not even going to have the discussion too much about detoxing. But before you get to detoxing, I'm going to give this PSA, this public service announcement. Make sure that you go to the doctor, get your blood test, get your test done, your physical. Make sure you're not diabetic before you start this detox. You want to make sure that all your detox pathways are open and functioning well. You want to be able to urinate when you need to urinate because you're urinating out toxins. You want to be able to defecate when you need to defecate. You're defecating out toxins, right? So, sweat, you want to be able to sweat out things. So, your lungs be able to breathe out really good. You want to just make sure that you're able to detox the toxins before you start killing parasites that are in your body that will cause a buildup of toxins, which is why you need to be able to eliminate them, right? So if you can't eliminate all that toxicity in your body, it's bad business. That's what happened to me. I almost died. I didn't know I was a diabetic, and I was doing detoxing and parasite cleansing over a year ago, almost 2 years ago. So, this is a true story. I ended up in the hospital. So, we're not talking about detoxing tonight. And I just want to let you know that before you start trying to detox parasites, because this subject is a creepy, crawly subject. It just makes my skin crawl. It makes me itch. It bothers me. It almost makes me want to hyperventilate. It makes me anxious just knowing that we have these things in our body, most of us. And you'll never just get rid of all. You got to continuously work on getting rid of them. And then also, some are good for your body, right? Some are actually, as all things, like we talk about polarity. There's polarity in all things. There's good and bad in all things, positive and negative, if you will. There's positive and negative to all things. So, you know, to wrap your mind around that can be icky, especially if you don't like bugs. I don't like bugs. I, I think everything should have a right to live, but if it's here, But I just, I steer clear of bugs, spiders. Mm-mm, can't do it. So, the topic can just be stressful. I'll say that. It can be a stressful topic, you know, because it's just the ill yuck factor, right? The ill yuck factor. Yeah. So before we look at worms or uh, demons or AI algorithms, if you will, we're going to need to define the word, right? Yeah, we're going to need to define this word. So let me go ahead and pull it up when I can. Pull up the definition of parasites, right? Hmm. So we need to talk about it. let's discuss how this word parasite comes from the Greek parasitos, right? Let me show you what I mean. We're seeing what a parasite is. It's an organism living in, on, or with another organism in order to attain nutrients, grow, or multiply, often in a state that directly or indirectly harms the host. Okay. But as we scroll down and we get to see the roots of this word, uh, let's see the etymology, right? Middle French from Latin parasitus, and from the Greek parasitos, from para and cetos, grain, food. hmm So in ancient Greek, because, this is literally saying one who eats at another's table, basically. Parasitos, one who eats at another's table. So in ancient Greece, a parasitos wasn't inherently evil. It was just dependent on another for substance, right? But over time, the meaning darkened. And that's what we're dealing with. Um, you can question whether it was always this way and more just the consciousness rose. But over time, the meaning darkened, and a parasite became any entity that feeds off another without giving back, right? And that's the principle that we're going to follow tonight. Anything that consumes without contributing, anything that manipulates for its own gain is a parasite. And as I said, parasites exist in three domains: the physical, right? So the visible, the biological manipulators. And then you have the metaphysical. Let me show you what I mean. I know it helps to see what we're talking about. So I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to pull up this infograph. Three types: physical, which is your visible, right? It's been manifested. But as we know, all things start on the spiritual or the unseen before it's manifested in a more concrete type matter, right? So the physical is the visible ones, the biological manipulators. Then you have that, take that step back, that metaphysical, before it became physical. It's still an energetic and psychological feeder, is the problem. It's still feeding without giving back. And then you have the digital, the unseen predators of the telematrix, right? The networks and devices that touch your mind. And that's going to be our key at some point. We're going to have to dive into it. The mind is a beautiful thing to waste. Didn't we learn that in the 80s? My 80s babies. The mind is a beautiful thing. I mean, you don't want to waste it. You don't want to let it go. You don't want to give it up. Allow it to be used and abused by any other force. Sovereignty is the name of the game. 2026. Right? So it gets real. It gets deep out here. The rabbit hole can go deep. You know what? Let me light my incense real quick. Right? So once you see the parasitism, these parasites, and the way they operate, the parasitism as a strategy rather than just a type of organism, you'll start noticing it everywhere. That's the truth. You'll start noticing it everywhere. I can't not see it. It's everywhere. Physical, metaphysical, and digital. You'll start noticing these patterns, these loops, and you'll start noticing manipulators. You'll see them. All all these things designed to feed energy or attention or control. And the question is, if something as simple as a microscopic organism can hijack behavior, what happens when the system is smarter or faster or more subtle? What about that? You're going to need your superpowers to be activated to be able to discern the way things is going. You know what I mean? Like it gets more and more subtle on one hand, but then on the other hand, it just gets more and more obvious. I guess it depends on your consciousness level, and it's not a race. Nobody's, there's no, everybody's going to get there eventually. So, depending on, your where you're at consciously at the moment, some things it just goes like that you know what can I see, what can I discern, what can I consciously, really consciously understand and notice and see. So it's on a scale, right? We're talking about consciousness, but the more I guess, because I'm talking about digital, we're going into this digital part now at some point. So then it becomes, well, smarter, faster in so many ways. You might could think that. The computers and all that are based off of the human body. So whatever it can do, you can do. And that's why we're doing this here at the Openly Occultic podcast. That's why I'm into holistic and energy work. you know, holistic healing, holistic lifestyle, energy work, a return to nature. I really do believe that there might be a battle between the organic and the non-organic. When we talk about a spiritual war, or when people talk about a spiritual war or a war in general, I'm thinking that the dividing line between any war is the organic versus the non-organic. And when you start talking about the non-organic, as far as on a polarity scale, one side is going to be heavily metal, right? Or heavily non organic. I think about the Terminator and Skynet and the machines, robots and stuff. But then the problem would be, like I said, because that's obvious. We'd see that coming, right? Well, it's happening now. Not too many people are fighting back against that. I don't know. But once you start talking about drones and robots on a battlefield, it's here. They have robot dogs, police dogs have had them for at least a decade. So, robots, yeah, that clearly look like robots. That's one thing. But once the technology or the mentality gets to the point of let's be subtle about this and make it look uber realistic, we're talking about like a transhuman type future where robots look human or humans are robots. Both could be true. Anyway, maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself. I feel like all these topics merge. So I'm just trying to, do it the fastest way possible. Try to tie in these thoughts together so that we can all see it. But yeah, if something as simple as a microscopic organism can hijack behavior, what happens when the system is smarter or faster or more subtle? There's a potential for danger there. And that's the topic. I like to see myself as a truth seeker, someone who likes to ring the alarm if I see or sense a dangerous, precarious situation on the horizon. I'd like to be one to let people know, let my tribe know, let us know. Hey, be careful with this, that, and the third. It's a little dicey, get a little rocky. You know, so uh, so I think the digital has a place in this, and we'll get to that. But before we do, type yes if you've ever felt drained after being around someone or something, like as if their energy wasn't yours or something like that. If you've ever felt drained after being around a person, like their energy, like they sucked your energy, or you just felt depleted after being around a person. Have you ever felt that? Type yes in the chat. Let me know. Uh, so yeah, by the end of the live, you'll definitely know. And I know you guys want to know about it more, so we'll get to that. But first, before we move on, this channel connects plant medicine, astrology, energy work, and emerging intelligence in health. Like, share, and subscribe to stay informed and empowered. Yeah, we do a lot of reading around here. I started the Openly Occultic book club because we're very much into reading. And you read all about parasites, metaphysical, and all that, and all these different occultic books, if you will, esoteric writings, and what have you. Like I said, the word parasite originates from the Greek parasitos, right? Meaning one who eats at another's table. So in ancient Greece, a parasitos was not necessarily a villain. It was simply someone who depended on another for substance, right? But over time, the word it evolved. You could say, well, did it evolve because then they started to understand more scientifically that parasites exist and that there's a micro macro to everything, right? So as above, so below. I don't know. We just know, it started taking on a darker meaning. An entity that feeds off of another, offering nothing in return. So, yeah, you felt that? Have you felt that? Have you been around somebody and felt like they were feeding off your energy, or you just felt like, you ran into an energy vampire and they just sucked up your energy and your time and went on about their business and just left you? That's how it can be. That's how it can be. So this evolution, right, of this word taking on a darker meaning of an entity that feeds off of another, offering nothing in return, giving absolutely nothing back in return. This evolution of meaning mirrors the very nature of parasites themselves, right? Shapeshifters, infiltrators, exploiters of energy, whether that energy is physical, mental, or spiritual. Or spiritual. We say we're mind, body, and spirit, or mind, body, and soul. I think, yeah, it's three, but it's not divided, it's one. So you are a soul, and this is your body, right? And this is your mind. So Okay, okay. I see Chanel. Hey, Chanel. Hey, sis. You guys, my sister has joined our live. Yes, yes. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. Um, and I guess the more that you become aware of it, the better you can discern it and move accordingly, right? But you got to start to notice it. I guess maybe wisdom, just getting older in the world and having more experiences helps you discern. So we're not going to negate life experiences. You got to live life to be able to even talk about some of these things because it's once you get older, you start to realize certain people around you are just taking and not giving, and they're just an energy vampire. You know, so yeah, it's a real thing. So let's start with the physical. All right, we said we got a three-part thing going: physicals, parasites, physical, metaphysical, and digital. So let's go ahead and check out the physical, an example of the physical, right? A toxoplasma gondii parasite. This video is talking about the gliding motion of it. I have it muted because copyright. I might could show the captions or something like that. I don't know. But it's talking about and showing this tapeworm. Parasites are nature's most cunning manipulators. They're masters of survival. They're capable of hijacking the minds and bodies of their host to serve their own needs. And so, because listen, me and my sister, she's here. We were watching Dairy, and on one of the episodes where the Welcome to Dairy series, one of the episodes where they were watching a video on parasites in the class, and then the girl had her own experience. It was just, oh my god, crazy TV. That was a crazy episode, like one of the craziest episodes of TV in 2025, right? So, but before she experienced what she experienced with the parasite, they were in a class talking about parasites and watching a documentary on parasites. And we've heard about parasites that want to be caught by rats because then they can be spread around. The rat will eat it or what have you, and now it's inside the rat or whatever the case may be. There's all kind of examples of, and in this Welcome to Dairy episode, it was talking about this parasite. It would go into this, was it a frog or some kind of rodent? But basically, it would kind of like be in its eyes. It will make the eyes bulge in this cat, rodent, reptile, I don't know, make the eyes bulge, which would cause birds to notice because birds have that great eyesight, as we know, from way up high. It'll make them want to come investigate. And now they're plucking the eyes, and now the parasite transfers down from on the ground from this rat or whatever this was into the bird, and it has access to move around. Isn't that something? Nature is amazing. We're talking about just propagation, and it's like eating an apple and throwing the apple on the ground. The bird's gonna fly in, pick at the rind of this apple, get seeds, eat the seeds. When he goes off into the woods somewhere and defecates, there goes the seed. Fertilization continues, life continues. It's the circle of life, right? So it's interesting, this circle of life pattern that these parasites have, right? Because like we said, we're looking at this movement of the parasite in this video. It was talking about the gliding movement. Let's see if it'll pull up this gliding motion of the parasite, and we just see the locomotion, if you will, the traveling involved. and it travels all through the body for various reasons and purposes, but it sucks the nutrients from your body. We're talking about how they are vampires. They take without giving back. You're drained and they're living their best life. You just ate an hour ago. You're hungry as hell. They're full. You're hungry because they took all the nutrients. You're depleted in iron and zinc because you're in magnesium, because as soon as you eat a bowl of greens or whatever the case may be, whatever it is, they're taking those minerals from you. And now when you go to the doctor because you're depleted of these different minerals, and it's because that parasite is inside you, it's eating the minerals, it's thriving, it's living a great life, and that's what we're dealing with. This is life. Right? This is life. Here's another video that we have on parasites. Let me see. I want to mute it. I don't want it to. All right. So, same ones. Same parasite. And this channel is using some kind of 3D imaging type technology. And they're just showing these parasites. You see them, they're eating all the nutrients, they're eating they're just eating. And it's zapping you, the host. Right? Physical parasites. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, many diseases are caused by parasites. What about that? What about our health? What are the doctors saying about parasites? If many diseases come from parasites, we got to pay attention to these kind of things, guys. We got to pay attention to it. Western medicine, the money comes in keeping you unhealthy. If they cure you, you won't be back. That's another client loss. This is capitalism. There's no way around it, right? So when we talking about business, we're talking about supply and demand. So many parasites are the reason for diseases, and the doctors say what? I'm hearing that a lot of the doctors and nurses are saying they've never heard of someone with parasites. That's third world country. They're like, what? Someone said it to my face. I told you I went to the hospital doing a parasite cleanse, detox. I was fasting and doing a parasite cleanse. Didn't know I had diabetes, so I ended up in the hospital. I'm explaining to them in the emergency room in pain. I'm explaining to them what happened and that I was fasting and did a parasite cleanse. I brought the tinctures with me. I brought the wormwood with me with the cloves, you know. And I was also taking Cascara Sagrada, you know, for bowel movements to eliminate the toxins. I didn't know I was diabetic. That was the problem. So when inflammation started to build up in the body from the toxicity of parasites dying inside of me, um, there was my sugar would raise up, and there was no way for my body to fight the inflammation. So I'm in the hospital telling them, and they're like, "What parasites? What wormwood? What are we talking about?" And it gets worse. I cried in this hospital, y'all. I was so scared. I was so afraid for my life. I was at a weak moment. I wasn't, I wasn't that afraid. I was really more frustrated because, the next thing you know, this doctor was giving me minerals, cell salts, really. She was giving me potassium for my sugar because, all this other stuff. She was giving me potassium. I had literally just did a series on cell salts, so I had just researched potassium and magnesium and just a bunch of different cell salts. So I said to her, because of the situation, and I never passed up a chance or an opportunity to ask these doctors questions about holistic health, herbs, minerals, things like that. I never hesitate to take the opportunity to ask them just to see where they're at because it's crazy. The gaslighting is crazy. It's crazy the ego of people, you know, they feel like they got a degree so they know. And it's like you only know what they taught you. You really need to learn about the body and learn what goes in the body, learn what the body is made up of and what have you. Let alone parasites, right? And what they're doing because we're hearing parasites are the cause of a lot of diseases. So why when I'm talking about parasites in the emergency room and I brought my holistic, my herbal tinctures that I had been taking, why are they in the dark or saying they're in the dark? They don't understand what's going on. They don't know what I'm talking about. They've never heard of anything like that. That's third world talk. Africa, Mexico. I don't know what they were talking about. They didn't name this third world country. But we know that, parasites is a real thing. So why are they like this? Why are they like this? I don't know. I don't know. But it's the root of a lot of diseases. Some would say most diseases. And this toxic plasma gondii is uh is a good example, right? It's a good example. This toxoplasma. Let me go back to that other video we were watching. This one. It's a good example. This microscopic parasite infects rodents and it rewires their fear responses. It rewires their fear responses. Normally, a rodent would avoid a cat, but infected rodents become fearless, which is exactly what the parasite needs to complete its cycle. Hmm. Mm-hmm. So it needs it to complete its life cycle. And it doesn't stop there. Humans can host this toxoplasma gondii as well. Did you know that? Hold on, I got another video. Let's pull this other video up. I'm gonna get rid of some of this stuff because it's slowing my computer down. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, you guys can hear me. My sister Chanel said something earlier. I know she can hear me. Um, let's check this out. I'm not gonna play the sound. I'm gonna mute it. Let's see if I can pull up the captions though. This is an ultrasound video, and it's going to show a tapeworm in the abdominal cavity. Certain types of imaging, such as CTs or MRI scans, X-rays, or ultrasounds of cysts, may suggest invasive tapeworm infection. Tapeworms are flatworms. They look a little bit like ribbons. Their bodies are made up of segments, and each segment is about the size of a grain of rice. Adult tapeworms can grow to be about 30 feet long, almost as long as the average school bus. The average school bus. Can you imagine? Fortunately, infections caused by them are rare in the US. Well, I mean, like, what's is one tapeworm called an infection or multiple tapeworms called an infection? Because it said infections caused by tapeworms are rare, but does a person with one in their body count as, does that go on the statistics as an infection? I'm just wondering because I don't know what they're doing. The math ain't mathing around here, is what I'm saying. The math isn't mathing. Now, hella people are sick in America, but they say parasites is a third world thing. Why is everybody sick? And then they're saying infections from these tapeworms are very rare. But I'm like, well, you know, are we talking about one tapeworm? Is that regarded as an infection and added to the statistics? If you just have one is too much. 30 feet? One adult tapeworm can grow to be as long as a average school bus? Are you kidding me? Don't play. No. Is that going down as an infection or is that, what is that going down as? What I want to know. What are y'all calling that? Cuz that's too much. Let's see what it shows here. Okay, we see this little flatworm, this little ribbon area right here. Mhm. Right. And that looks like just one. Is that counted as an infection? I don't need a tapeworm as long as a school bus in my stomach. See what I'm saying about this topic? It's stressful. It's creepy. This is a creepy topic. We got to have these hard topics, you guys. We got to talk about it. It's a hard topic. We need to discuss it. You know, we can't run from it, hide from it, shy away from it. We need to tackle this head on. From what I'm hearing is parasites feed without giving back. Um, you can get parasites from all kinds of means, including walking around barefoot in the grass, because animals defecate and parasites be riding in them animals. So you can also get parasites for walking around barefoot in areas where animals are defecating, which how can you tell? How would you know? You know, a bird can fly by at any moment. You know, defecating, here you are walking in the grass barefoot and you step on some poo and next thing you know, this parasite infiltrate. Oh my gosh, this is creepy. This is a creepy ass topic, but we got to talk about it. We have to do it. So, you know, we're looking at this ultrasound video. We're talking about these parasites. We're like, hey, you know, and we're hearing that not only metaphysical parasites are dangerous, but digital parasites are dangerous. Now, I think we need to discuss this. If you're enjoying chitting and chatting with me right now, um, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, right? So you don't miss a show. We're going to be going live quite often, actually. We're going to do this a lot more. We're just warming up. You know, I told my nephew is 10 years old. He's excited about, you know, watching streamers, video games and stuff like that, right? So he was watching a streamer the other day who was live and he had like 60,000 people watching. And I said, wow, I'm going to go live tomorrow. He said, really? I said, yeah, I'll probably have about 5 watchers. And it's true. I've had 5 views so far. So thank you. I've reached my goal that I said I would get. So I'm thrilled. I'm pleased with this. This is our first episode. Um, I want to help us. I want us to build a community here. You know, I'm looking for my tribe. So, and we want to get healthy. I'm a Virgo moon. I got a lot of Virgo. I got a stellium of Virgo. So very much about health, and it's just second nature to me. Like that's like always in the back of my mind. Good health. So parasites is a real topic because, like we said, most diseases come from parasites. What's that all about? And why is Western health acting like all is All is well. This is not okay. Can we talk about the? Can we discuss this? Mm-mm-mm. But I don't know. It's like they, well, like we said, there's no money in curing it, right? There's no money in getting rid of it for you. Then you won't keep coming back. So the best thing we can do is be aware and know that there's nobody here that's just gonna save us. You know, try to link up with your tribe and talk about these type of things and help each other, the village, right? Look out for each other. But outside of that, the authorities, society, all these industries and all that, there's no help coming. They want you to stay in a fear mode, a sick mode, a weak mode, a defenseless mode. That's just the facts. Look at his brain infected with parasites. Mm, mm, mm. Man, yeah. So, like we said, because uh, the rodent will, well, the toxoplasma gondii, the parasite, it wants the rodent to eat it. It wants to be, it needs the rodent to be eaten by the cat, right? And like we said, this Toxoplasma gondii doesn't stop at rodents. This same parasite infects humans too. And studies suggest that it might influence our behavior, increasing risk taking, increasing aggression, and even mental health disorders like schizophrenia. I'm going to get this off the screen. This is just disturbing. It's disturbing to look at that. It's giving me the heebie jeebies. It's got to go. We got to get it off the screen. We know what we're talking about. We know what we're talking about. Oh, it's nephew. Hey, nephew. Nephew's in the stream watching. Thank you so much, guys. I love you so much for your support. I love you guys so much. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that picture of the infected brain. Look, nephew. This is the brain infected with parasites. It's so gross. It's so gross. I'm gonna take it off the screen. But we're seeing that a lot of diseases come from parasites. So we need to be aware of these parasites. Okay? And we're talking about how the parasite wants to be ate by the rodent so that it can affect the rodent's behavior and get the rodent killed by the cat. And now it can be in the cat and it could complete its life cycle. This is crazy, right? It's not crazy. Listen to the pattern. Listen to how it operates. How does a parasite operate? When we think of parasites, we think of organisms like tapeworms or ticks, right? Dogs get ticks. So sometimes your dog goes off into the woods, it comes back with a little tick on it by its ear or something like that. It's definitely in its coat. That's a parasite. Ticks are parasites. And these creatures attach themselves to a host and feed off of their nutrients and energy. The food that they eat, the parasite eats the food, and now the dog is still hungry. That's why it's called a parasite. A parasite eats without, it eats at your table without giving anything back, you know? So that's what we're dealing with. So humans can get that same type of parasite. And studies suggest that if you have this parasite, it can increase your risk taking or your aggression, and it can also contribute to mental health disorders. So, could some of our irrational choices be the whispers of a parasite deep inside of our brains? We don't want to talk about it. It's scary to think about. How do you know if you don't have a parasite? How do you know? You know what I mean? If you do or you don't, how would you know? What do you do? First, you have to consider it. And that's why we have to have the discussions. Before you would find it or know about it, you would need to consider it. And before you would consider it, you have to hear about it, right? So maybe you're not normally in circles where they talk about parasites and what all they do. So you got to be around people to hear about it, talk about it, and then you can, hey, you know what? I'm kind of feeling some symptoms. What should I do? Should I go to a doctor? Hey, you might get your answer by going to a doctor, but from what I'm hearing, lots of doctors ignore this or pass it off like as if it doesn't exist. You can go get a second opinion though, and another doctor will look at your same situation and say, yes, you do have a parasite. So when does it end? How many doctors would you have to go to hear no before you land on one that says yes? Or what if the none never say yes? Do you have a parasite or not? Are you a hypochondriac? Is it phantom pains? I don't know. And that's the problem. They're making it so hard. Why are they making it so hard when it could all be so simple? That's the problem. That's the problem. So we've been streaming about an hour. We're still talking about our physical parasites, right? We're saying that this toxoplasma gondii could also influence health disorders, mental health disorders like schizophrenia, right? And so we said, could it be that some of our most irrational decisions could they not be our own? Could it be coming from a parasite inside of us? It could be. It could be. When they invade our bodies, they feed off of our cells and our blood and the things we eat. When these parasites invade our bodies, they feed off of our blood and our cells and what have you, and everything we eat, the nutrients that come from it. What are we talking about? There's three main types of physical parasites. You have the ectoparasite, right, which is like a parasite that's outside on the skin, like a tick or a flea. Those are ectoparasites, and there's many of them, not just ticks and fleas, but that's more of a parasite that's on the outside of the body. Then you have the endoparasites, which are inside your body, the tapeworms. We just saw the ultrasound, right? So these are inside the body, parasites that are inside your body. You could get it from eating stuff, raw fish, sushi. You could get it from eating pork. Some say there's not enough fire in the world to kill all the parasites in pork. I don't know. I don't know. But you can get it from pork. And as I said, you could get it from walking around barefoot outside and walking through feces and things like that because parasites and worms are inside of the animal's feces. So if you're walking in an area barefoot that has animal defecations, you could pick up parasites that way as well. What kind of parasite? Endoparasites. It'll bury into your heel. It'll dig its way in through your heel, your foot, and make its way inside your body. Endoparasites, tapeworms, that that what's it called? Toxoplasma gondii. And then you have mesoparasites, which are both. They can be inside and outside, right? So when they invade our bodies, they feed off of our cells and our blood and the food that we eat, right? Attaching themselves to their host, they receive nourishment and protection while contributing nothing to the host's survival. In fact, their presence can often lead to detrimental effects on the host, causing a variety of illnesses and diseases. But parasites are not just biological nuisances. They do play a crucial role in maintaining the balance of ecosystems and driving evolution, right? Some, like the bacteria in our gut, play a critical role in our well being. They help us digest food and absorb nutrients. And so here it's a fine line. We see that it demonstrates the intricate balance of life. It's a thin line, as with all things, right? The same things that can make you laugh can make you cry. There's duality in all things, right? The same plants that you can go in the woods and make a tea out of and drink it, it can poison you and it can also save you from death, heal you. So the same plant can kill you and it can heal you. There's a thin line. And that's what we have here with parasites as well. There's a thin line. Gut bacteria helps digest food, it helps absorb nutrients, and it helps maintain balance. So even the most insidious parasites reveal a hidden complexity. Life is a network of give and take, predator and prey, right? Predator and prey. These are the facts. So everything's not sweet out here. We got to be on guard, right? We have to be on guard of the threats because there are threats. And for optimal health, you're going to want to make sure that you stay on guard for the things that can cause diseases, right? And one of those things is the parasite, like we just saw. So let me go ahead and pull up the CDC website. Let's see what the CDC website has to say about uh, these parasites, right? um, the CDC is talking about eradicating parasites, guinea worm disease, right? They got a bunch of articles on parasites. They tell you what a parasite is, so they know they exist, right? They give you information for health professionals and this, that, and the third. Women, travelers to those third world countries, they act like parasites don't exist in America, only third world countries. So you'd be the fool to fall for that because that's just what is it, marketing for America, right? So you want to believe that's public relations. You want to believe all that? You need to know that everything that glitters is not gold. So America likes to put on that, say all that, gaslight people in that way, and that's for them to do. You could listen to it or not. You could fall for it or don't. You know what I'm saying? Parasites are everywhere. For them to say parasites are only a third world country problem and have so much disease in America is quite telling. Do you agree with me? Put a thumbs up if you agree that it's weird that America says parasites is only a third world problem, and yet the disease rates are so high in America. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Does that make sense? Are they covering something up? Is something being hidden? Are they hiding something? It feels like it. Yeah, so, they say that many kinds of lab tests are available to diagnose parasitic diseases. I need somebody who's gone through all those tests to go ahead and come testify, let us know, verify for us that it's in depth or that they give the appearance of caring, giving the appearance of diagnosing or seeing these parasites in a person's body and diagnosing it. Or are they playing with it? I don't know. They say malaria is a serious disease caused by a parasite. Did you know that malaria was caused by a parasite? Yeah. So that's the CDC. As I was saying before, there's three main types of parasites: the ectoparasite, the endoparasites, which are internal, and then the mesoparasite, right? The mesoparasite is internal and external, kind of like the ones you see that clean the mouths out of sharks and fish, or even the ones you see around the mouths of lions or eyes and stuff of buffalo. They're like they live inside because they go inside the eye and they kind of live inside of it, but they also live outside of it, right? So the ectoparasite versus endoparasite. The ectoparasite refers to a parasite that lives on its host. The endoparasite lives in its host, right? Things like that. hmm Also, when it comes to the ectoparasite, the ectoparasite is temporary, intermittent, or permanent. And then the other one that's internal, it's a permanent parasite inside that host, right? Then you have the hemiparasite or holoparasite, whereas the other one is mainly the holoparasite. Uh, you just have all these different details about the differences. The respiration for one is aerobic, the other one is anaerobic. The parasites that are outside, right? The ectoparasite, they lack wings, but the ones that go inside of people and animals, they lack a digestive tract, right? The ones that live on the outside of the body cause less damage to the host. The ones that live inside the body cause it could even cause death. And then you have when you're talking about those ectoparasites, you're talking about the mosquitoes and the leech, the mite, the flea, the tick, and the louse. And then when you're going to talking about those internal parasites, you're discussing the tapeworms, the roundworms, the trematodes, and the protozoans. hmm So, as we said, the mesoparasites live inside and outside. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's go ahead and Google it real quick. Mesoparasites are specialized organisms that live partly embedded within their host's body, typically entering through openings like the ears, mouth, or cloaca. They straddle the line between endo and ectoparasites, often having an anterior end anchored inside, while the posterior remains exposed, right? They occupy cavities connected to the external environment, like the nasal cavity, the gills, or the mouth, right? So let's see. You want to look at some images real quick? Let's see what we're talking about here. I know I see videos. I see videos of fish, different sharks and bull whales and things like that, and they'll have parasites cleaning around their mouth, their gills, and stuff like that. So yeah, you see it on the gills of this fish right here. This mesoparasite living on the gills of this fish, and he just eats all the toxins, nutrients, and everything. He just cleans up the body, but he also goes inside that fish. He might have a part that's anchored inside, and then the rest of his body is outside. That's what they were saying. So creepy crawly things necessary for the evolution of life, but it's also a thin line because they can be deadly. Right? Let's see if we can close some of this down. We looked at what the CDC had to say about parasites. So we're good there. Yeah, we definitely got the definition of parasite. Uh so what do you think so far? We're just talking about the physical ones at the moment. We haven't even gotten into the metaphysical parasites. What we know is that parasites adapt constantly, right? Some alter their host behavior so that they can spread. So they change your behavior so that they can spread, right? They change your behavior Maybe cause you to want to shake hands all the time so that they can go from you to the next person. So you could just continue passing around. It's like that movie Fallen with the demons, right? Come on, because next we're talking about metaphysical parasites. So we saw Fallen with Denzel Washington. And we saw how this demon just touched the people next to it and it's just following Denzel up the street, stalking him, right? And he's just touching other strangers up the street. And next thing you know, he's in them. Well, the physical parasite, let alone the metaphysical, behaves in the same way. So it can get around and continue to infect. It wants to infect. It's feeding off of others. It's not making food for itself. One of those, the endoparasite, we saw that it doesn't even have a digestive tract. Those parasites that go inside of us don't even have a digestive tract. The tapeworms and the roundworms is what it said on that screen share I pulled up. So they're feeding from you, and that's how they get their nourishment. Bottom line. So some alter their host behavior so that they can spread. Others resist immune defenses. Resist immune defenses. So if it's resisting immune defenses and it's inside of you, are you resisting immune defenses? Is it causing you to resist immune defenses? This dance of survival is both elegant and terrifying because it's definitely a dance. It's definitely a thin line, but I don't want nothing inside me regardless. I just have to accept the fact that they're a part of life. So, but outside of that, I'm like, But what if these physical parasites are only a shadow of something far greater, right? Just a shadow. We said earlier, as above, so below. There's a micro macro to all things. You see something on a big level, you'll see it on a smaller level as well. So I say that to say, let's flip it because the parasite and the physical, that would be on a smaller level. That's the micro. On a bigger, wider level would be the metaphysical. It's unseen. There's more space than matter, right? There's more space than matter. So the things in the space that you can't see, there's more of that than the physical, is what I'm saying. So that will be far greater than these physical parasites. What if these physical parasites are only a shadow of something far greater? What if their patterns repeat in invisible ways? Mental, energetic, and digital. Because the main thing is that it feeds off of you. Let me ask you, have you ever felt manipulated or drained or felt like you weren't in control? Because that's your first glimpse of parasitism. Parasitism. Let me let's pull up symptoms of parasites. Let's do that, right? Let's pull up. What does it look like? Symptoms of parasites. What would it look like if you did have a physical, if you had a physical parasite? What would that look like? This is what some of the people are saying. Um, Diarrhea, gas and gas pains. Don't start diagnosing yourself. These could be typical uh symptoms for so many things. But yes, abdominal pain, diarrhea, gas and gas pain, bloating, nausea and vomiting, and anal itching. They like to hang out around by the booty. Okay? So, fatigue and weakness. Again, diarrhea, nausea and vomiting, bloating, stomach pain or tenderness, passing a worm in a stool. I don't have you seen your stool? Do you know? Let's see. Anemia, appetite changes, bruxism. What's bruxism, guys? We'll look it up. just because. Bruxism is the unconscious habitual clenching or grinding of teeth occurring while awake or asleep, often driven by stress, anxiety, or sleep disorders like apnea. So, grinding your teeth, clenching your and grinding your teeth, also called bruxism, is on this list of symptoms of internal parasites: fatigue, joint and muscle pain, past food poisoning, skin issues, sleep problems, traveler's diarrhea. So let me know in the comments if you feel like if you feel like any of this sounds familiar. We'll say that. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Mm. Loose stools with blood and mucus, lethargy, and like we said, itchiness around your anal or genital areas, sometimes passing worms in your stool. So, and like we said, the worm can enter through your foot. This is talking about hookworm, and it'll travel up through your lungs and then to your intestines to reproduce, to lay eggs. This is a problem. And then the worm exits the body through the stool. So go ahead and peruse the signs of parasites: dark circles under the eyes, infections, skin problems, headaches, brain fog, weak memory, fatigue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So some of them, these parasites, they've developed fascinating adaptations to ensure their survival, right? Some, like we said, can change their host behavior to increase their chance of spreading, while others have evolved to resist the host immune response. So they've evolved to resist the host, your immune response. So this is important. Like I said, because I was doing a parasite cleanse, I didn't know I had diabetes. The toxicity was raising within my body, um, from the dead parasites and what have you. But my immune system couldn't fight off the inflammation. Why? It says we're being told that parasites can resist the host immune response. See, so you want to make sure you go to the you're gonna want to make sure that you go to the doctor and get your levels. Make sure you get your test done before you start trying to detox. You want to make sure because they can resist your immune response, and then you can almost die like I did because that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. So I'm glad we could talk about it because I definitely wanted to let the public know to be aware of that. Everybody's talking about detoxing and parasites, and I'm like, just make sure that you can, get all the toxins out your body. Make sure you go to the doctor and you're healthy enough to detox before you do it. I didn't do that, and I suffered the consequences. So, but like we said, what if the physical parasite is just a shadow of the metaphysical parasite? So that's what we need to get into. We've been on here for about an hour and a half. What do you guys think? Should we have another live where we talk about the metaphysical parasites? Should we break it down? I think this is really an ongoing topic, actually. This might just be an ongoing topic because it's definitely a conversation that's necessary to have. So I think we'll go ahead and I don't know, put one in the chat if you want me to continue, and if you think I should wrap it up for today. Fulfilling my goal of having a podcast after reaching 50 subscribers and at least having 5 viewers, right? Like I told nephew I would. So, maybe we can wrap this up and I could come back sometime next week, maybe, and we could continue this discussion because we definitely want to get to the digital part. I've been testing my equipment, so this is my first stream. I think everything kind of ran pretty smoothly. I can get better at this, but and that's all that technical stuff. You're not here for all that. But I'm excited to have done what I said I was going to do. So we could continue talking about these parasites right now, or we could go ahead and end this tonight and come back and talk about metaphysical parasites. What do you guys think? Leave a one in the chat if you want me to keep going. And I don't see any ones just yet. No ones. So maybe next time. Maybe we'll just go ahead and come back next time. We'll wrap this up for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me, for sure. We like to practice wholeness and balance here. I want to remind you that when you do decide to do your parasite cleanse, you absolutely can go to cedargroveherbs.com and get the herbs, tinctures that you need. Um, so, yeah. And let me pull it up. I made a little commercial for that, just so you guys are aware. Working on making little commercials and videos so that we can. I don't think I added it though. I didn't add that commercial that I made. So we'll just go ahead and run this, reminding everybody to like, share, and subscribe. This is what we're into here. But first, before we move on, this channel connects plant medicine, astrology, energy work, and emerging intelligence in health. Like, share, and subscribe to stay informed and empowered. All right. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll see you guys sometime next week. I'll try to work on another episode of the book club. Right, we're finishing up the definitive book of human design, so I'll work on that. And hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Meet up with you guys next time. Wholeness and balance.